Well, I'm getting absolutely beamed with sunlight right now, and I can't do anything about that, but you guys will just have to ignore it and hope it doesn't bother you. But I really wanted to talk about this. I was going to cover it yesterday, but I had so much to cover already, and we are doing the watch party. I had to save it for now. But this is going to be even funnier to watch now that it's 2 days later, and just about 2 hours ago, Trump was found guilty of all 32 charges on the hush money case in New York, right? That's where all that happened. New York is where the courthouse was and where the trial happened. Makes sense, yeah. I think it's New York. I think I'm right there. Yeah, this is even going to be even funnier to watch because I imagine a lot of the discussion here might be about the trial. And Tim Pool is famous for saying things in regards to Trump that age very poorly. I almost feel that if, like, Tim Pool says something good about Trump, it guarantees the opposite will happen. Like when he said Trump will win in a 49-state landslide, and then Trump lost miserably, and Biden won. And now I imagine he probably said to Trump, "You're gonna win this. You're gonna pull through, and these jurors are gonna know that you are innocent." How much you want to bet he just spoke that into reality by saying it won't happen? Because he's always wrong. Like, the universe will literally warp to change to be the opposite of what Tim Pool says is true. He is that much of a liar. Even when he tells the truth, the universe is forced to change to make what he said a lie. Because he can't not lie. Like, if he tells the truth, it was an accident. Anyway, Tim Pool had Donald Trump on his show. I can't wait to see this. I've not seen even a clip of this. It's pretty long, though. We're probably going to have to speed this up a fair amount. Let's get up to, like, 1.5 speed. I've never seen Trump, like, sit and talk in a podcast format like this, so it's going to be interesting.
Here at the Libertarian Party National Convention, it is absolutely amazing hearing these debates.
Oh, it's not, like, this isn't at his compound. This is, like, he's at a place. Like, he went to Trump, it seems. Okay.
And today we are honored to be joined by two guests. We have Kash Patel, who will be joining us in the first portion of this show, so we can talk about policy, Blanche 20.
Oh, okay, no, we're nope. We want to see Mr. Trump. When's Trump show up? Ah, there he is. Ah, here we go. There it is. Here it goes. Who is Kash Patel? Who the fuck cares? Who knows? Literally who? All right, here it is.
Good. Mr. President, this is your seat we have here right now.
This is the most relevant thing Tim Pool has ever done in his life.
I really do appreciate it. Thanks for sitting down. I really do appreciate it.
Trump called Tim Pool a beauty. He said, "You're a beauty." What the fuck? Are they gonna kiss? Tim Pool didn't even wear a suit, bro. Yeah, he is just kind of a trash bag, isn't he?
Appreciate it. So I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'll just we'll jump right in.
Okay, good.
We had a couple polls we went over on our show, IRL. Young people, surprisingly, immigration is a top issue for them now. I was talking to a young guy, he's 26. He says,
"Hey, chat, do you think he ironed his beanie before he wore it to interview the president?" You know, Tim Pool's a grifter by the fact that he can't even feign being excited. You know? Like, Tim Pool's possibly the biggest grifter there is in the realm of right-wing politics. He knows he's full of shit. And so what I find really funny is that he isn't even able to pretend to be excited about this right now. Like, if I met Biden, I would be more excited than he is. He must not actually have that much enthusiasm for Trump outside of the fact that Trump supporters pay his bills and for his, like, compound and his underground basement skate park.
he's watching what's going on in New York. He owns a business. He can't afford to buy his own house. He struggles to be able to support a family. And I know that you've said that there's going to be the largest deportation effort in your next term. How do we do it?
So millions and millions of people are coming into a country, and
I love the way Trump says millions. Nothing will ever make me smile more than Trump saying millions. I can't even say millions, millions and millions. I can't. It's impossible. Only he can say millions the way he does. It's with two E's. He says millions. It's like I can't do it. I can't do it. He's a fucking like lyrical genius. I don't know. I met Contra in person and lost coherent thought. All I could tell her was, I'm a big fan, and will you sign my notebook? Aw, that's so gay. In a loving way, I mean that, of course. I'm not... You guys not that homophobic. It's because you've got the pink name, and so you went up to ContraPoints. And wait, no, you have a red name, don't you? I can't see through the glare. Is that? Wait, what are your pronouns? Okay, well, no, it can be gay.
It's not necessarily exactly what we want or had in mind. They have open borders where people just flow in. And many of those people are coming from prisons. Many of those people, frankly, are murderers and they're drug dealers. And they're coming from mental institutions. And they're coming from places that are not going to work very well. It's not going to be very good for our country. So we're going to start with that. And we have to get...
Are there pink? Well, I mean, like the little dot next... Like, Lucky Otter, you have a pink name. Like, if you hover over the little dot next to your name, you've got she, her pronouns. I sometimes mix up the pink and, like, the dark reddish pink that is used for any all. Sorry.
No country can sustain what we're going through. I believe the number is 15, 16 million, could even be 17 million people right now. That's more than that's bigger than almost all of our states.
I think it's freaking out young people. How do we do it though? I mean, is it going to be new personnel?
It will really be done with local police.
What the fuck are they even talking about? I thought, like, this was going to be in any way interesting. Like, hold on, I'll slow it down a bit, I guess, but, like...
Respect has been taken away. The honor has been taken away from our police forces. They're not allowed to do anything. And whether it's liberty...
Oh, they're not going to say anything. It's just going to be, like, vague, just bullshit. Like, the police can't do anything. Meanwhile, 2 days later, he gets convicted of state charges that are a felony. He's now a felon, and now it's all about how it's rigged. And whenever the law and order comes for him, it's not real. It's rigged. It's not fair. But the police should be fully supported because they can't do anything right now. Who arrested him? This is just a fluff piece, I guess. Yeah, of course.
Libertarian or not libertarian, people have to...
I mean, the fact that Trump is giving Tim Pool the time of day kind of implies that, like, Trump knows he needs all the help he can get, right? Like, he's trying to get out in front of as many people as possible. Like, I don't think he would have given Tim Pool the time of day, even if he was this big back in 2016 or 2020.
You have to have law and order. You can't have 500 people walking into a department store and just walking out with everything they have. And we have to give honor and respect back. And I believe immunity because, so often when a police person does their job, they end up with no pension.
A police person does their job. They end up... No, there's not oftentimes that does not happen. In fact, the more common case is one in which a police officer does something that is wrong and is determined to be wrong and gets paid leave. Or, like, a temporary suspension. Like, is this dude genuinely trying... I guess, yeah, he is. He's trying to convince us that... He can't give an exact number because he's just pulling shit out of his ass. He's trying to claim that police are constantly getting charged with crimes and being convicted for doing their job. And his word for them is police people. Police persons. Yeah, he's gone woke, exactly. No, Trump literally can't speak the English language. Like, his brain might genuinely be melting. I was watching my favorite resistance liberal, as I am one too. I love that we're now resistance liberals. We're going all the way in, guys. I'm going to get an I'm still with her shirt. I was watching John Oliver the other night, and there was a clip where he was talking about corn, like the American corn industry and all the subsidies and stuff. And there is a clip of Trump talking about corn. Trump called corn non-liquid gold and then proceeded to, like, for about 2 minutes, talk about how clever he thinks that, like, non-liquid gold quote he just came up with is, and then makes up a story about how he said it to a bunch of corn farmers, and they thought it was such an impressive statement that they're going to start using it now, too. Non-liquid gold is gold, by the way, guys. That's the point I'm making here, is that Donald Trump doesn't know the English language. He's ESL, but English is his first language and his only language that he knows. But he's still ESL.
They end up with no house. They end up with no family. Everything's taken away from them. They have to get their own lawyer. So we're going to give them back their dignity and their strength. The local police know the criminals that we're talking about. They know their first name, their middle name, and their last name. They know everything about them. And we're going to have to let them do that. And they will bring them in. We have no choice. And these are in many cases. And this is from all over the world, not just South America, which is big enough. But they're coming in from the Congo.
Not just South America, which is big enough. Like, wait, what? Like, wait, what is the implication there? Like, yeah, South America is big enough. We don't need any more South America. Did he just, like, wait, what? What was that? South America's big enough.
They're coming in from all parts of Africa. They're coming in from all parts of Asia, and it's an invasion into our country, and no country can handle.
Wait. Okay. So are the Republicans now against Asian American immigration? Like, are we going all in now? Is it happening? Is it like, are they full anti-immigration, all countries, all, like, because I was under the impression that, like, for the most part, like, Asian immigration was kind of looked at by Republicans as, like, permissible. Yeah, I guess the Republicans aren't giving, like, Asian Americans the honorary whites status anymore. Fuck. Yeah, they're going for the whites-only immigration route. I mean, the Republicans might genuinely get so crazy they block off, like, immigration to Europe, too. The Republicans do genuinely want to, like, completely isolate America's immigration and travel. Like, completely. Like, they want to lock down the country. No one in or out that, maybe people out, but, like, no one in that isn't already American. That is the process like, Trump Republicans want. They are trying to, like, isolate, lock down, and then control America.
Handle this. So we're going to have them taken out. Local police, we're going to work very closely with the local police, and it's been done before. We had Dwight Eisenhower, believe it or not, did the biggest deportation.
How hilarious is it that Trump's going to be working with the local police as a felon? Trump is literally a felon now, 2 days after this. It ages so well.
And he pretty much stopped it. Strange that we mentioned Eisenhower because you don't think of him that way, but he did a massive deportation where people were pouring in.
The next big question that we get a lot is, there's two components to this. The first is, many of the libertarians here, we want to see firings. We want to see, in the bureaucracy, corrupt
I agree.
individuals, the bloat.
Oh my God, we're so back in Gamergate. You fired. You fired. You fired. Do you remember that? When Trump's, like, catchphrase was, you fired. You remember that? God, we're going back to 2016. Like we're just nosediving straight back down there.
On top of that, without getting into the specifics for obvious reasons, the things that they're doing to you with the court system is not just to you. It is to me. It is to everyone who voted for.
The dreaded blur. In Trump's home state of Florida, his current state of residence, felons cannot vote. That is correct.
For you in 2020.
It's true.
Are we going to get some good personnel in as Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and in the CIA,
right,
and see some prosecutions?
So we had some great people because our trade numbers were fantastic. The jobs we did on
this is so funny. 2 days later, after he gets like tried, so now it's like here's Trump actively planning to like criminally try those that are like opposed to him in politics, like to lock up his political opponents. And yet as he is being tried for a crime he actually committed and was wiretapped, like we have video of him like talking to Michael Cohen about setting up the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. He was wiretapped for this shit, dude. Like we have the audio. It's publicly available now. I like how Donald Trump is like actively planning out on an interview the thing that he is accusing the Democrats of doing to him. Which, by the way, the Democrats have no affiliation with the like legal proceedings he's in. It's not like an impeachment trial or anything like that. It's just a criminal trial. Imagine he tries to vote in Florida and gets convicted of voter fraud. That would be so fucking funny. He will try to do voter fraud, I bet. He'll vote for himself. There's no way he can't. He has to vote for himself. He couldn't keep himself from doing that, right? He'll try to do voter fraud, right? Well, but how could he? I mean, everyone knows that he's a felon now. I don't know. We'll see.
Trade the jobs we did, frankly, in the military underneath the terrible television generals who were absolutely terrible, but we have incredible people. You know, we defeated ISIS, and we had no new wars because they were concerned with us. I had no wars at all. I finished off a war that we were in for 20 years, but we had new wars.
No, Biden was actually the one that pulled us out of Afghanistan, but like the start of the Afghanistan pullout was stupid in the first place. As bad as it was that we were in Afghanistan for 22 years and probably would have stayed there for a while longer had we not pulled out, like that conceptually sounds bad, right? And there were some pretty big problems that arised out of that, but I'd actually argue, especially in the last like 8 years or so, no, it was about 22 years, Lucky Otter. Last 8 years or so of like U.S. occupation of Afghanistan, the Afghan people really preferred U.S. control over Taliban control. I went over the polling and everything. I wasn't even the first one to, like, make a video and have that take, by the way. It was Dylan Burns. Dylan Burns did a whole video going over the polling and stuff. This wasn't, like, really a controversial take among foreign policy people. It was just a controversial take among people that are like, my politics begin and end at war bad, and America bad.
No wars. And we have to get the right people. It's all about the people. So when I first came here,
Also, Trump literally tweeted 2 days ago that if he was president, he would have, like, ended the war in Gaza by now. Like, he would have wiped out Hamas by now if he had been elected president. That was, like, 2 days ago. He said that, like, they would have already bombed it into nothing if he was president, and the war would have been over months ago. That is to say, he would have wiped out everybody months ago with bombings. And, like, he bragged about it, admitted it, bragged about it. He ended up, by ended, he means he would have done the genocide faster. Well, like, he would have done the genocide more completely. People from Palestine, Gaza, and the West Bank are able to get out every once in a while. And they're able to seek asylum and able to, like, get away. There are, like, Palestinians that exist outside of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank in Israel. If you want to say it is a active, planned genocide by Israel to wipe out every last Palestinian, Biden being in power and at the very least being, like, in your view, like, okay with it, as opposed to Trump just making it this quick, means more people survive and don't get genocided. More Palestinians survive the getting genocided the longer the genociding takes, if you think it's a genocide. I don't know if you can quite say, because the policy of Israel, like, they still allow, I think they still allow aid and stuff, right? But, yeah. I genuinely don't view it as morally different from a genocide, though. It is. I mean, like, the ICC wanting Netanyahu for, like, crimes against humanity is a pretty good piece of evidence that it's a genocide. Exactly, the dreaded blur. It doesn't matter what you call it. It needs to end. And that would be the only reason, just like Trump might even want to bomb Ukraine, if only hesitating so he doesn't kill Russians. Yeah, I think Trump also said some really fucking scary stuff about how he would handle the current conflict in Ukraine as well. I almost feel like every American, like, foreign adversary is, like, sitting at a table waiting for a Democrat to take power in America so they can, like, start a war that America has to get involved in, and thus, like, reflect poorly on Democrat leadership, and then they chill everything out when a Republican is in power because they recognize a Republican president makes America weaker and a Democrat president makes America stronger, and they want to weak America. So, like, using what power they have to influence America's actions when a certain person's in power is actually a pretty effective way that our enemies could be influencing the elections. Like, specifically starting wars with us when there's a Democrat in office. Like when Iran attacked Israel, or when Putin attacked Ukraine, or China escalating its iron grip on Taiwan. It's almost like every foreign adversary of America, like, just increases all the heat and puts America in a situation where it kind of has to respond when there's a Democrat in office. It's almost like our foreign adversaries are smart enough to know that a Republican makes our country weaker, Democrats make our country stronger, and they don't want a strong America when they're our adversaries. I just think about that for a little bit, you know? Maybe that's an interesting line of thought worth exploring, potentially.
here. I was only in Washington
game
17
theory
times
I
in my
have.
life. All of a sudden, I'm president. And I really knew nobody. I relied on people. Some were good, some were rhinos, some gave us some bad advice. And generally speaking, we had very good people. But we had some that we have to do better. Attorney General, we have to get a great Attorney General. And I'd work with the Libertarian Party on that. I think it's very good because, you know, I view the Libertarian Party as almost a party of common sense, largely of common sense. And
Why is he not running for the Libertarian Party then? What? I guess he's trying to get Libertarian Party voters now, isn't he? He's trying to simp the Libertarian Party. Trump passed the bump stock ban. Trump did nothing to make it so that, like, federal legalization of weed is a thing. Like, Trump isn't pro-gun, he's not pro-weed, he's not pro-freedom. He tried to expand libel laws and defamation laws so he could sue people that talked about him negatively. There's nothing about him even remotely libertarian.
I say that about the Republican Party, too. We're a party of common sense. You want borders, but you want fairness. You want a lot of things that a lot of other people don't talk about. So we will work with a lot of people to get the right people in. The difference is I now know sort of everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not having to be relying on people that I didn't know very well and listen to their recommendations. And I think we're going to have phenomenal people. I know the people. I know the good ones, the bad ones, the weak ones, the strong ones. I think we're going to have great people.
We're friends with Kash Patel. He was
A lot of this is just blustering, but it's just funny to watch knowing that Trump is now a felon 2 days later. And just seeing how pouty and angry he is about it. Oh, it's so nice. The juxtaposition. Vermin Supreme would destroy Trump. Vermin Supreme owns Trump.
on the show just before you, and that gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Well, Cash is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's an example of a good one.
Yep.
We have some great people, but Cash was a great example.
one?
Devin Nunes, as you know.
He's an example of a good one? Excuse me? Okay, Trump.
No, he's fantastic. We have
Absolutely.
so many great people.
So when it came to foreign policy, I'll be honest, I didn't vote for you in 2016. I was jaded. Obama let me down. I'm from
Really?
Chicago. I thought 2016 was silly. And then in 2020, with the timeline for getting out of Afghanistan,
Right.
when you tried to get our troops out of Syria, my question is, why are we in Syria? Who even knew?
Yeah.
And they lied to you.
Yeah, for those that don't know, for all of the fear-mongering about ISIS that the Republicans did for a good while to boost their immigration wedge issue rhetoric, they didn't actually care. The reason we were in Syria is because we're fighting ISIS, and weren't we helping the Kurds? Weren't Kurdish forces being trained and armed by us and doing a substantial amount of the fighting against ISIS because ISIS was actively trying to genocide them? So we had a situation where arming a group of people that were being genocided by a terrorist group we're at odds with, we actually had, they were allies that we genuinely, yeah, it was oh. Yeah, I mean, General Soleimani was fighting ISIS when Trump bombed him. Yeah, it's just funny. It's really, really funny, isn't it? We were protecting the Kurds in Syria against ISIS in Syria. Yeah. Also, Rojava was Gigabase, man. Yeah, but think about it. Remember the Kurds and Rojava and all that shit and what was happening in Syria? How I feel I bring it up fairly often when it's a relevant thing to reference, such as now. But I haven't heard anybody, obviously besides foreign policy people like Dylan Burns, talk about that since it was a thing. It feels like so much of the left gets hyper fixated on a given thing that's currently happening to the point where it's the flags are in everyone's profile names and bios, and then 2 months later, 3 months later at the most, everyone's forgotten about it or stopped talking about it because it's not you don't get a bunch of likes for tweeting about it anymore. I think a fair amount of a lot of the upsettedness at Biden is virtue signaling. And I think there's good, valid criticism for sure. It's just man, you gotta know how much, when to stop when the only, the person who you're criticizing is the only alternative to fascism. And when you criticize someone, you have to recognize that you are giving people a negative impression of that person. And there needs to be as much of a positive impression of the not fascist guy as possible for us to not have the fascist guy win, you know? We left Syria because people were told by Trump and Republicans it was just another Iraq and Afghanistan. Yep. That's the big problem, though. The only reason literally, I think the situation in Afghanistan is actually quite comparable to what happened in Syria. Not exactly. I'd say we're quite a bit more morally justified when it comes to Syria, but at the same time, look at the polling of Afghans, especially Afghan women. Look at the polling of Afghan women the year before the U.S. pulled out, when it was being talked about, and what they wanted. Afghan women did not want the U.S. leaving until assurances were made that the Taliban would not take away their rights once they took power, which they did when they did take power. So, why was it justified in some people's minds for the U.S. to stay in Syria and protect the Kurds, while at the same time it's not justified for the U.S. to stay in Afghanistan and protect the women? Okay.
you, and they lied to us about the number of troops in there. And so maybe it's a bit blunt for me to say I want to see people prosecuted for the lies of the American people. But in terms of foreign policy, perhaps it's a little bit of a biased interview, but I think you're the greatest president of my lifetime.
I appreciate it.
And ending the wars that we should not have been involved in. Now the fear is World War III.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
No one who is actually important or matters is afraid of World War III, okay? Like, I'm sorry. I don't think World War III is going to happen, okay? I just don't think it's going to happen unless, like, China, Russia, and like, North Korea are able to make their own, like, massive block of economic shit in which they don't rely... The world, like, economy relies on the US dollar. Unless enough foreign adversaries get together to, like, build their own mini world economy, basically, I cannot see, like, a timeline in which, like, could you imagine Putin decides he wants to nuke America and Russian corporations, like powerful Russian corporations that are in the country that make a lot of money off of America, and, like, if America went belly up, like, their company goes belly up, they lose a lot of money. Like, corporate greed in Russia, when Putin wants to try and take out America, there would be corporate assassins going after Putin. They would be hiring hit squads after Putin. It would be a corporate versus government war within Russia in this scenario. I guarantee it. Corporations would not allow some of these countries to, like, start World War III. Like, the corporations would try to assassinate world leaders that tried to make this happen. I genuinely feel this way. Maybe I'm delusional, but, like, I feel that unironically capitalism might be a bit of a safety net keeping our planet from devolving into nuclear Armageddon, because so many powerful, influential people kind of have a vested interest in keeping everything from just going up in smoke instantly. And certainly in keeping the US dollar from, like, evaporating, right? If the US dollar goes away, the world economy collapses overnight. It's just how it is. Remember when Yemen was supposed to be the ones that started World War III? Bitch, nobody cares about Yemen. There's not going to be a World War III. There's not going to be a draft. All this shit is, like, internet culture war tier, not knowing anything about actual politics, like meme level discourse. There's not going to be another draft. World War III isn't coming. Go take a walk and touch some grass and listen to the sound of birds.
When you enter your next term to stopping the escalation?
Well, first of all, I'm the only one that is going to stop
And always remember, nothing ever happens.
World War III, because this man can't put two sentences together. He doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know where he is. And amazingly, it seems like he's going to be...
Hilariously, all of Biden's, like, mental health, like, screenings and checks have come back saying that he's in perfectly good mental health. And yet right now, doctors are currently saying that Donald Trump's mental health, like, his mental stability, is what's declining. Trump has been the one that's been fumbling. Recently, he said that, like, in the Revolutionary War, the colonial troops stormed the British airports. That was a brain-melted moment. I'm sorry. That was not even a misspeak. He didn't even correct himself. He said it confidently and just kept talking.
running. You know, it's a lot of people said, do you think he'll make it to the starting gate? Well, we'll see what happens. But if you look at Viktor Orban, because we don't want to see wars. I don't want to see wars. I was in no wars other than we finished a war with ISIS and we completed it, 100% complete.
No fucking way. No fucking way. No way. No goddamn way. When all the foreign policy advisors and experts were saying, Trump, ISIS is still very present in this region. We probably, like, if we leave, they're gonna kill the Kurds. Like, yeah, okay, dude. Yeah. ISIS is still around. Like, what? Like ISIS still exists. Correct me if I'm wrong. We won the war with ISIS? What? We lost, if anything. We pulled out. That's like saying we won the war with, like, against, fuck, who was it? Fuck, I'm blanking on the name of the force we fought in Vietnam. What was it? It was like the South Vietnam. Well, Viet Cong was the name of, like, fighting force. Was it literally just Viet Cong? I thought that was just the name of the fighting force. Wasn't there? NLF, thank you. The NLF, thank you. I think that's the term, right? What's... Yeah, okay. Well, like, that's like saying we won the war in Vietnam because we left. I don't know. Like it just seems very like yeah, man. We totally took that dub. Don't Google what I'm saying right now though. Just trust me. We won that. North Vietnam Army. I thought we were fighting. No, we were. I thought. Yeah, no. South Vietnam was where we'd occupied, so we would have been fighting North Vietnam. I don't know. I wasn't alive when the Vietnam War happened.
But I don't want to see wars. I think it's so hard.
If I was, I'd remember everything about it.
Necessary, so costly in terms of lives and money in that order, and destroying these countries. You know, you're destroying culture. When you look at Ukraine, that would have never happened if I were president. You look at the October.
What? Okay. Putin would have never invaded Ukraine if he was president. Mind you, every Trump supporter I've heard talk about the like Russia-Ukraine is either like just blatantly pro-Russia, like just open about it, or they do this really stupid, like, I shit you not, they try to claim that the Ukrainians don't want to fight anymore, and the U.S. is forcing Ukraine to fight Russia. I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of podcast clips that are just like normie dude bro podcast, where it's like middle-aged men just talking about like politics, unfortunately. And like the narrative that's so popular among like these normie like centrist dudes is that like Ukraine doesn't want to fight anymore, and the people are like dying, and Ukraine's losing the war horribly to Russia, and the U.S. and Zelensky are forcing the people to continue fighting, and they don't want to anymore. They just want to surrender. That's the narrative. That's the narrative that Trump is going to use, and the justification Trump will use if he gets elected for cutting off all support to Ukraine the second he gets elected.
7th attack on Israel would have never happened.
Why? I look at your policies. I see secure the borders, bring jobs back. I look at the Democrats and many Republicans, and it's foreign war and foreign expansion.
That's right.
What is that?
I think it's just a failed mentality.
It's so upsetting to me how much Tim Pool sounds like a good few of you guys in chat sometimes, but like a lot of the online left right now when it comes to Biden. Like, it's crazy how much of Biden, or like the anti-Biden rhetoric on the left is just the same shit Tim Pool says. Not listen, some of you guys have been, some of you guys have done some not all of you. I'm not when I say some of you in chat, I'm not saying all of you. It doesn't necessarily apply to you specifically who heard that. But like there have been people in chat, most of them banned, that have like done the cringe like anti-Biden stuff that just like basically a Tim Pool take. Like, the Democrats run on a policy platform of getting us into more foreign wars. Yeah, really? That's what the Democrats do, right? That's what you really think? You think the Democrats are all about foreign war? That's their thing? They're more war hawkish than Republicans? Like, you actually fall for the idea that Republicans are truly isolationist, while Democrats are like war hawks? Like, if you fall for that narrative, you are falling for Republican propaganda. But it's so popular on the left to believe this dichotomy. But it's not a real one. It's the same lie as, like the Obama was the deporter-in-chief thing. You can Google that right now and fact-check it. Turns out, Obama did not deport anywhere near as many people as people said. That whole deporter-in-chief nickname, I mean, Obama didn't even deport as many people as Trump or Bush, who were the Republicans before and after him. But the claim was that he's deported more than any. Like, it was this weird, bizarre, like, actually, Obama is super anti-immigrant, like, narrative that was popular even among Democrats. And I heard my mom say that once, like, when I was a kid, that Obama's the deporter-in-chief. Like, liberals believed that narrative because it was just a pervasive idea that, like, sounded believable. Like, yeah, the Democrats can't be all good. I guess that's believable that, like, the Democrats would deport more people than Republicans, but like, it's just this nonsensical idea, but people believe it. And they're like, you can fact check these things. Like, no, Obama did not drone strike more people than Bush or Trump. I like, that's nor has Biden. Like, one of the biggest things that Trump did was drone striking Soleimani, right? Like, that was like a huge deal. He drone striked Yemen. It's the dumbest shit, especially considering they never bring up that he was president for longer, too. Yeah, like, Trump was president for 4 years as well, and Obama was president for 8 years. He still didn't deport as many people, but he still got the nickname deporter-in-chief because people want to push that idea that actually the progressive is the real bigot. Because that's how you get progressive people to vote for a bigot instead.
It's crazy. You can sell
That's true. Leftists will say that one drone strike is too many, regardless of like any casualties involved.
problems over a telephone. Instead, they start dropping bombs. I see recently they're dropping bombs all over Yemen. You don't have to do that. You can talk in such a way where they respect you and they
You
listen to you.
bombed
Viktor Orban
Yemen. You bombed Yemen.
of Hungary, the leader. They call him a strong man. Who cares if he's a strong man or not a strong man? He's a very powerful guy. He said the problem the world has is that Donald Trump is no longer president. When he was president, China didn't play around, Russia didn't play around, nobody played around, and we had no.
It's literally like I genuinely believe that our like anti-American world leaders, like our foreign adversaries, actively plan to get America involved in wars and to get us into conflict whenever there's a Democrat in office. Like we already know about the Russian collusion, so Putin's definitely in on something like that. Especially when you consider Trump's response to say, "Well, he would have never done that if I was president." It's like, you wanted to order a drone strike on a top Saudi official? He did. He did want to do that.
No problems. Today, the whole world is on fire.
I heard that funny. There's a conversation from a phone call where
But not from climate change. Climate change is a Chinese hoax, of course.
you said that there was they maybe thought there was a 5% chance you'd nuke them,
That's well.
and so that kept them in line. It's kind of scary to think about, but you take a look at the weakness we have now.
They actually think the idea that, like, the rest of the world thinks Trump's so unhinged that, like, America might launch nukes is, like, a powerful thing. Did Zan talk about the Trump trial yet? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're watching this after that, because it's like, look at the juxtaposition of how big Trump thinks he is here, and then 2 days later, now that he's a felon.
With Ukraine and the money that we are wasting. I'll bring it back to the economy. This young guy I was talking to about immigration. Actually, I'll put it this way. There's a viral video where a young man's screaming that we're sending hundreds of billions to a country no one's ever heard of.
Right.
And young people are hurting in this country. Do you see any direct economic policy that is on your list for 2025?
Direct economic, but also direct in terms of warfare. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars all around the world. But when you look at Ukraine, we're giving all of this money. Europe, which is much more affected by that war than us, is spending just a tiny fraction of what we're spending. And you say, does anybody at least get involved in this? But more importantly, I will end that war. I'll get it ended.
I'll get it ended. I'll get it ended. Trust me. I'm gonna have a talk with Putin. I'm gonna tell him he's been a real bad boy and that we're bros and he needs to just chill out. No, in reality, he'll cut off all support to Ukraine, which is what all of his voters want. It's what he has been advocating for. What everybody on the right has been saying is we're giving billions to Ukraine. We've got to stop. They're just gonna cut off Ukraine. It'll be as simple as that. Hell, they might even assist in helping Putin capture Zelensky, for all we know. Like, it would not surprise me if like, Trump just said, you know what? Here you go, Putin, and just handed Zelensky over. Like, Trump would do that. Like, tell me he wouldn't. Tell me Trump would not capture Zelensky and then hand him over to Putin and then cut off all support to the Ukrainian military so that Russia can invade, like, without much pushback. France is contemplating having troops go into Ukraine. Yeah, I think a lot of Europe is gonna, like, especially Poland, might end up sending, like, boots in the ground into Ukraine. Like, legit. I think it might happen. Because the war is not exactly going in Ukraine's direction, and it's looking like a proxy war is not going to be winnable. And so these, like, European countries that do not want a new USSR union of countries, like, annexed by Russia, they're going to step in, boots on the ground, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if England gets involved, if the UK gets involved. Like, we could see, like, SAS motherfuckers pulling up in skiffs on, like, the beaches of the, what is it, the Donetsk region? Or no, is it the, where is it? Where's that coastal area? I'm trying to remember the name of it right now. Crimea. That'd go crazy. No? You don't think that would happen? Dude, Europe... The EU might not, like, be cool about a new USSR being made, guys. Like, think about this. This wouldn't be World War III, but, like, we could see some serious troop deployments along the western, like, borders of Ukraine from those countries, particularly Poland and maybe France or the UK, just putting boots in the ground to help the Ukrainians, because, like, dude, they can't let Russia take Ukraine. Like, it's not just a moral thing or, like, an ally thing. It's a world strategy thing. They can't let Ukraine get taken by Russia. It is part of Putin's plan to rebuild the USSR. They're not going to let it happen. I think if things really start going too badly for Ukraine, where we're gonna see Europe like as a large part of Europe get involved with like actual boots in the ground warfare. Brits don't like the idea of being at war the same way as Americans. It doesn't matter, though. Like, Biden doesn't like the idea of being at war, but then Iran launched, like, a massive, like, drone barrage at Israel, and so Biden was ready to go to war with Iran if it happened, you know? Like, that could... It doesn't matter whether or not it's unpopular. Sometimes your country is forced into a situation where it has to engage in conflict due to a variety of different reasons. Some of them are agreements that are come to where if we're attacked, a country has to help us, and if they're attacked, we have to help them. We have a lot of agreements like that. Israel's one of them, I believe. Like, I think Israel is supposed to help us if we were ever to get like a land invasion and we needed their help somehow. They would have to help us, I think, in the same way that we have to help them. I think there's a few nations I can think of that we have that agreement with. I think Ukraine is one of them, right? They're not part of NATO, but we already had like a pact with them where like if they got invaded, we had to help, or at least like I think EU nations had to help. Yeah, okay. They're not in NATO, but there was an already existing agreement that kind of... Yeah, the U.S. has that agreement. Okay, the U.S. has that agreement with a lot of countries. We're like the mob. We're like, you help us, we help you. You know, you scratch our back, we scratch yours. Maybe, you know, that's kind of how we operate on the world scale.
Putin respects me. Zelensky respects me. I know all the players, and I want to get that war ended. It's a horrible war. It's a terrible. There's no good war, but that's a horrible war. And to think.
Can he not just like say that Putin is invading and that it's an invasion and that the Ukrainians are not like, it's not a war. Like, notice how he talks about it as if it's like equally blame. Like there's equal blame to ascribe here. He's not talking about it like it's an invasion. He literally calls immigration to America an invasion, but what's happening in Ukraine is a war, a horrible war that needs to be ended, that he talks about vaguely as if like both sides are equally culpable. He's going to help Russia. He will literally hand Zelensky over to Putin personally. I promise you. If he wins, he will have Zelensky captured and handed over to Putin for execution.
I think it would have never started. It would have never started. If the election turned out like it should have turned out, that war would have never started. I mean, and you know, the number of lives we're talking about is far greater than the numbers that you hear. When they blow up...
Wait, if that election turned out the way it should have turned out, what do you mean? Was it not rigged anymore? Do you mean you lost? And the election didn't turn out how you wanted? Ooh, Freudian slip.
A town, or when they blow up.
How cool do you keep your rooms, Ann? Well, it's underground, and it's still pretty cool out, so it's actually kind of chilly in here. If it got any colder, I'd probably turn on my space heater just to warm it up a little bit. It's actually quite cool in here, which I love because I hate being sweaty and hot during streams. It sucks.
These buildings, these massive buildings, surprisingly, I mean, these are big. That was my business. These are big, powerful buildings. And they come tumbling down to the ground and they say nobody was injured. A lot of people were killed. Yeah. And the numbers are a lot different than you think. You will see that happening. When those numbers really get announced, you're going to see it's much worse than people think.
Here at the Libertarian Party National Convention, they had one of their, one of their presidential nominees said he wants to see Fauci.
Oh my God. Is that where they are? The Libertarian National Convention? Didn't Trump get booed at this later on? This isn't interesting to me anymore, so I'm fine cutting it off here. But didn't Trump get booed? Trump booed libertarians. Yeah, Trump reacted to getting booed at Libertarian Convention. Dude.
Trump was met last night at the Libertarian Party Convention with a raucous crowd and a few rubber chickens from a pro-RFK Jr. super PAC hoping to fire up an already raging audience. The moment Trump took the stage, heckling broke out from libertarians, trying to drown out the rows of his supporters in the back of the room. Now, with a CNN reporter actually witnessed at least one libertarian throwing a punch at a Trump fan. So why did Trump brave the unfriendly audience for this speech? Well, because independent and third-party voters could actually make or break this race. But when you toss in the rest of the candidates who could appear on the ballot, it becomes clear that the two of them actually have a bit of a problem. As you can see, they're very, very close. All right, my panel is back, and Don Bresnahan from Punchbowl News is joining us for this conversation as well. Trump's comments were interesting to this crowd last night because he also was clearly trying to talk to them, speak their language, and maybe some promises to folks in the Libertarian Party.
Okay, let's see this. I want to see this clip.
Should nominate Trump for president of the United States. Whoa. only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. I will put...
Dude, you can't do this. No. No, Trump could never be a live streamer, dude. Trump could never be a live streamer and deal with, like, the dumb fucks that he would find stupid in his chat that would piss him off. He would let it get to him too much. Oh my god. Please clap.
Put a libertarian in my cabinet. And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
And the one person quoted by Politico, who is the director at large of the Libertarian National Committee, said any libertarian worth their stripes who has looked at Donald Trump's record will see that he barely aligns with the conservative camp and is a far cry from the Libertarian Party. I mean, like I said,
literally, just anytime a libertarian says, Trump is pretty cool, you just gotta respond with bump stock ban. And he got him. That's pretty much where it is. Trump never did anything pro-gun. He never expanded any liberties or freedoms, except, I guess, people tried to expand people's freedoms to soothe people that use their freedom of speech. So that was, I guess that was an expansion of freedoms he went for, but he never even succeeded at that, so yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, I would like you to leave a comment. It really helps a lot, and it shows your support to my content on the channel, and it forces YouTube to boost my channel in the algorithm, sending my videos and streams out to far more people. So I really do appreciate it. It's totally free as well. And don't forget, you can have a similar effect by commenting as well down below. I always love reading your comments too, and they boost the channel, so consider dropping some engagement down there. And consider following my social medias, which are all linked down below in the description. You can see me on other platforms and see what else I have to say there. And also, if you want to support me directly, financially, and you've got the money for it and you feel like it, consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch through Streamlabs as well. All linked down below. And don't forget, final thing, I have the link down below to my Discord server, which is the main hub of my community and fan base. It's totally free to join, and I host game events, call-in streams, and watch parties in there. So make sure to join if you want to be a part of the, chill events and communities and stuff. It's a really fun time. And I also announce all my new uploads and streams there, so if YouTube neglects to tell you when I've gone live or uploaded, at the very least the Discord will. So make sure you got notifications turned on if you don't already. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.